Hi, everybody. Nice to see you. Thank you for being here today. Um, we're having a conversation about our role as coaches for social change. Um, and the first thing I'd like to do is for us to introduce ourselves, say our names, say what we're doing in coaching for social change, and then share our big why. So I'll model it and I'll start. Um, I am Christina, and I am the social leadership coach. So I coach social change makers out in the world. Um, and also, I do a lot of work with ICF um, around advocacy on diversity, inclusion, belonging, and social justice. And my big why is simply I want to live in a more equitable and more sustainable world for everyone. And so that's me. Who would like to go next?
I'll go next. I
Excellent.
am Des Stevens, zooming in from Florida. Wow, this is like my favorite subject. I would say everything I do is about social impact. It's something that I've always been driven to do. In coaching, I would say particularly to level out the playing field for accessibility and affordability, not just for coaching, but for coach training. And I love to open new markets to coaching where it doesn't yet exist. I work with impoverished communities in Central America. I have a nonprofit down there. I work with refugees in Malaysia who are from the Middle East and Africa. I work with teens and indigenous communities in North America. I work with the queer community. I do it all. And I love that part of my coaching. It's always been there. And in terms of core competencies, for me, it covers all of them, a little bit on each. I've loved being part of the Ignite program with ICF. I was awarded the Prism Award regionally, their Imagine program through ICF Foundation. I have a social impact certification program to help others do the same. So yeah, this is my world. Thank you so much for the invite.
Thank you, Des. Who is next?
So I'll go next. Hi, I'm Marlene Thomas. I'm in Maryland, right outside of Washington, D.C. And I'm the past president of the ICF Metro DC chapter. And so social change it's in my bones, it's what I've always done. I coach a lot of nonprofit leaders in different areas. I've gone to Uganda and worked with a pastor who to coach he's got lots of ministers underneath him to coach them to make a difference in their country. I've coached, you'll see my Ukraine painting in the back. So we were one of the first chapters to really work with Ukraine when that war started. And I do a lot of pro bono coaching here in the Washington, D.C. area. And like Des, it's, it really doesn't matter because I think, coaching makes a difference. It can change, coaching can change the world. And we know that. So however and wherever I'm needed to make that difference, that's where I am.
Thanks, Marlene. Who is next? Carly, go ahead.
I can go. So my name is Carly, and I'm based in the eastern townships of Quebec up in Canada. From most of you, it's upwards. I'm so inspired by everything that you all do. I'm inspired to do more. So his social impact and social changes is something that I've been curious and been doing in different ways from, I guess, a young age. I did a bachelor's degree in environment and biodiversity and conservation. I went on to do a master's in international development. And then I finally really found my niche when I went on to do another master's degree in something called human systems intervention. And so that is where I went on to find, power imbalance is something that really gets me. And my big why is really bringing more harmony and connection. It's different words for what some of you have already spoken to. So I've ended up working a lot with the United Nations. So I've done coaching, I've done some leadership development, I facilitate a lot of staff retreats. And so part of my why is supporting them in doing their social change work, but also bringing awareness around the power imbalances. In my last retreat, I brought in coach approach, and I trained everybody a little bit on how to use coach approach in their work, and that everybody's a leader, and how do we do shared leadership. And so that's been a big piece of my work. I'm doing a little bit of work in healthcare as well, and I want to get into that a lot more as well. So it's a really, power imbalance is such an issue in the healthcare system. And so that's me and what I do.
Carly, Teddy, I think you're last.
Thank you. So my name is Theodora, or Teddy for short, and I am in Bulgaria. I'm operating from here. And my story starts with US Peace Corps. I've been for 16 years working for the US Peace Corps in Bulgaria, and I've seen how foreigners do social change for my country first. And after these 16 years, really, I got into coaching myself. And 10 years now, this is a real passion of mine. And why it is such a passion, I believe that the word in Bulgarian, the word for together is all for one, zajedno. We are there for one. And my bigger why is that it might sound strange, but my bigger why I'm a coach and why I'm a coach for social change is that I hope someday that coaching will no longer be needed and will not be a profession, because everybody will communicate through coach approach, through the competencies, and it will be just, imagine all the people living life in peace. My social change coaching practice is mostly with ICFF. I've been a leader of the Ignite project. I've also coached a lot of pro bono with UNICEF, with Special Olympics. I have a lot of that I'm doing right now. In Bulgaria, I'm probably the only one that have coached the local Roma communities. And I do believe that coaching can change the world one conversation at a time. And something else, since we met through diversity and inclusion, as a linguist, I wonder, why is it focusing on diversity? Why so many, couldn't it be focused on commonalities, really? We are all different, but why don't we focus on we are all one? Again, I feel that coaching is actually a way of communication, and that's why it may be no longer needed if we all communicate through coach approach. And hence I refer to myself as a communication coach, but I spell it different, common, so that we connect truly through the coaching competences on the level of values and see the commonalities in each other and respect the uniqueness, the colors that people bring, knowing that we're all one and we can all save the world. This is my bigger world, because I want to live in that world of John Lennon's Imagine.
One of the things that really amazes me is how, even as coaches, having the same types of credentials, we use coaching for social change in such different ways, right? Even in this small group. And my first question to all of you is, how do you relate your own coaching for social change to the ICF core competencies and the ICF ethical standards?
I could start if,
Go ahead, Teddy.
yeah. I have to be brutally honest. Right before the change of the coaching competency, I heard I'm sorry, I don't remember who said it to quote the right coach, but it bugged me that the coach was saying, someone approached him to ask, you coaches are making rich people richer. And that hurt so much that I made a promise to myself that I'm not going to be coaching people that can pay me. On the contrary. And I'm very happy that in the new competency model, there is this new competency, embody a coaching mindset. And I think that's the key. All the other competencies existed before, but there was something that I was missing, and it is exactly the human behind the coaching skills, the coaching school, the approach, the model. And I believe that embody a coaching mindset is really be the change you want to see in the world. So I would answer to your question. I'm starting with myself. I am aiming every day in my self-reflection moment to just ask myself the right questions and be a better version of myself. Do something for myself, for my family, for the community, for the world, for the climate, for the universe, and call that vision of us being together.
Mm.
I love embody a coaching mindset. And by the way, as a professional interpreter, it's very difficult to interpret it because all the words there, you could spend hours explaining what they are.
Absolutely. Des?
I think develops an ethical practice is a big one for me. I think it would be very unethical for us to offer coaching or coach training only to the wealthy, which traditionally it has been. And it started with middle-aged white men. Women are changing the industry now, and it's been pretty, from its inception, inaccessible, unaffordable. And so I think ethically, it's important to open up your practice to pro bono, discounts, sliding scales, income sensitive pricing, working with nonprofits, and making sure that everyone has access to professional coaching.
Mm. Who else would like to chime in? Marlene?
Oh, yeah, I'll go next. So for me, the maintaining presence, as a CTI trained coach, one of the things that we all know as coaches is that our clients are not broken. They have everything that they need to be successful. And all we have to do is show up and just be with them. We don't have to put words in their mouth. We don't have to make them think differently. We may have to challenge them a little bit so that they can really get to where they need to be. But, as a coach and for people, when you're working with people who are in these spaces that really want to make a difference in their communities and their countries, it is some of the most rewarding work that you can do. So all we have to do is show up and be the good coach that we know we are, right? And so ethics, as I said, I think maintaining presence is kind of the overarching thing that we really need to think about when we're doing social change coaching. And all of, again, the ethics is, I love the ethical standards. And as long as we know what they are, because there are a lot of coaches out there that haven't even read them. So as long as we know what they are, and we make sure that we don't step outside of those boxes with our clients, I think that we can help them, again, make a difference in the areas that they really want to focus on, that's important to them. Because we do this work because we love it and because we know that we want to work with our clients. But they're the ones with the boots on the ground.
Let me take a moment, Carly, before before you answer our question, to welcome Maribel de Laval, who's here from Puerto Rico, doing amazing work and coaching for social change. Maribel, just to catch you up, we're talking about how the ICF frameworks, the core competencies, and the ethical standards relate to our work in coaching for social change. So I'll give you a break to get settled, and we'll go to Carly. Go ahead, Carly.
Sure. When I was looking through, I went through the ICF competencies again and to really to hone in on these things. And there are two things that really stood out to me. So one of them was, especially when I'm coaching leaders, like in the UN or in any context as well, is that piece of evoking awareness, because there's often not awareness of the amount of power that they have and influence and how that is affecting the rest of the team. And so they're often in confusion, like, well, and so evoking that awareness. I mean, and you need to build trust, right? To go and support them in evoking that awareness and having that acceptance of ways that they're behaving, that's having influence in ways that they are not aware of and that are not helpful to the team in doing their own social change work or whatever change work that they're doing. So that was one piece that came to me, and that, you know, that can be a delicate conversation. And the other one, and I'm in full transparency, is I can get really excited about what change is possible in my clients and in my client systems, but I need to really keep aware of supporting their autonomy. Because I can get into like, oh, I wish I could, if they just did that thing, right? But it's not for me to do, right? And so because I'm so passionate about the work and what they're doing, I really need to hold that and very close to supporting their autonomy, keeping in my question asking, and so that makes sense in their reality the way that it is in alignment for them. So that's the other piece that came to me.
Maribel, would you like to chime in on how you relate your coaching for social change work with the ICF frameworks? You're on mute.
I come from a long way of self-help because I didn't know how to suffer. I had everything in my life. I had a good life, but when my father died and some other things happened, I didn't know how to cope with the word of how do you feel when you have to let pass a process of acceptance. So I started with self-help, but when I studied coaching, I understood that everything that I have learned for the past years was changing theories to the present moment of how can you live with passion? How can I teach people how to live with passion? So I had our first certification came with Doctora Ada Rosabal and Doctora Roxana Martinez, that she had already a program at University of Puerto Rico. So the three of us got together and we started with what was called the essence of being. And it was a 150 certification that was approved by ICF. And it was very useful for me to all the tools I have of self-help, they were put in that first certification. But when we started having so many problems after Maria, our hurricane, and our pandemic stage, and I saw so many people looking for how to deal with things, coping with dependencies of food and technology and some, how can I say in English, maladaptive conducts. I said, is the essence of being, can it be the answer for the sustainable change in this person? So I talked with University of Central Caribbean University, and we had the mentor with Dr. Santos, and he understood how can really coaching be a tool for the persons who are looking for themselves. So there I created a new certification, which was the new ICF competencies, but with the niche of how can we prevent the syndrome of dependency that can lead to addiction. And so we started with, I am a natural professor. I love to teach since many years ago. I'll be 78 years now, and I've been teaching for the last 40 years or something. So I have a lot of things that I have put together in order to help other people. But coaching gave me the special platform so that I can really put other people in self-consciousness, and so they can really be their own teachers through the accompany with talented coaches. So we are preparing coaches, and for that I created a Fundación Educativa SEPA. How can we teach the person to be aware? How can we teach? Because SEPA is concienciar, educar, potenciar, and then take action. So, and we use, for example, in the process of changing, we use Prochaska, which is the process by step. We also use Elizabeth Kübler-Ross, because many times with a person who have this dependency, there is something that they have to accept in order to be in the present moment. And our participants that we are graduates, they go through emotional seminar of emotional intelligence, a seminar of conversational intelligence. They pass through also what mindfulness can be in the present moment to change the way you feel. They go through self-auto-compassion. How can you say that? Self-compassion.
Self-compassion, yeah.
Yeah. So, and we give them as participants first, that they go and they pass through their own life what really they can teach others to be. So I am very happy to, and now the next project we have in Fundación Educativa SEPA is that we took that big project of 90-hour certification, and we are changing it to 30 hours of coaches that would like to know the niche. And we are a group of professionals. In our group, I have a psychiatrist that is specialist in detox with health. I have a very professional, he's a guy that passed through everything that has to do with dependency and addiction, all the way to addiction. And he has taken all the courses you can imagine that for peers that can help other people. And he has created his own formula to help other people. So I have also a person who is she is very prepared to help families, because she was passed through the experience of helping his child out of addiction. But she was very responsible for the past 20 years, and she has gone to Hazelden, all the schools that she can prepare for when we talk about systemic help for the family. So we also include the help for system. And we have created all these different tools, and especially when we go to the ruedas, the wheels of coaching. We have one for prevention. We have one for love. We have one for stress. We have one. So when they are prepared to help others, they have gone through their own personal experience, and they have tools to help others in this specific niche,
Thank
which is
you.
also that is creating so many problems in in all societies.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you, Maribel, for your perspective.
Mhm.
You know, I don't want, we could be talking about coaching for social change and the ICF frameworks for such a long time, especially now that they include so many things around the coaching mindset, systemic, right? Like
Yes.
the systemic portion, um, the all the background on understanding and placing ourselves in the context of the client. I hope we get a chance, all of us, to really dive more deeply into all of these concepts. I would love to hear, you know, parting thoughts from all of you regarding what you heard today around this idea of coaching for social change and the
I
ICF
want to
framework.
add,
Uh-huh.
if you give me the permission, that our all that we do in Fundación Educativa CEPA has an holistic approach. We really deal with spirituality, and we presented it as when you can really understand what love is and love for yourself. So it's not about religion, it's understanding who you are.
Thank you, Maribel. Parting thoughts from each of you, please.
Well, I'll start.
Go ahead, Teddy.
Coaching in itself is coaching change. When you coach a client half a step ahead of who they could be, I'm just using that phrase from a course in Spiral Dynamics Integral that I'm in love with that theory, really to coach them just half a step of meet them where they are, but coach them half a step ahead through the lens of a holistic approach. And really coaching is in itself social change as long as we focus on it, and treat them as they want to be treated, not treat them as you want to be treated. Communicate as if we are all one, not we versus them, not have acronyms. If we keep the ethics the ethical standards, we would not even need acronyms like diversity, inclusion, etc. That's my closing. Thank you for the opportunity. I think we could do another one, right? It's a great juicy topic. We could meet again. Thank you.
I know, like
Here.
thanks, Teddy. Carly, you had unmuted yourself. Ooh, and then Carly.
Sure. Well, you'd also asked, I think in the email, but what was one piece of advice that we might have for somebody who is going to take social change in their coaching? And so that got me thinking, and I think it does. Well, what it inspired in me is really, and what I see in everybody is being really, really connected with the source of inspiration for doing this, like the big why, right, is such a big piece of the inspiration that we have. And so being really clear and really connected with that wellspring that we all need to carry with us, because there are still awful things happening. And we have personal failures as we go, but also we see larger things, right, going on that can be really discouraging. And so I think being connected to that wellspring to sustain us as we move through really difficult social change topics that need to be addressed, and having really difficult conversations sometimes too in that process. So for me, that being connected to the why, and I hear that in everybody's really, really clear on the importance of this and how I love this. The coaching can change the world one conversation at a time. I've said that for, culture changes the world one conversation at a time. It is all the same stuff. So, so those are my closing thoughts.
Carly, Marlene?
So Carly, you said something interesting about, when we're coaching folks who are really making a difference in the social arena, that we need to remember not to bring our own thoughts into this. So I think, again, because we love this work, we probably are really connected to the work that our clients are doing as coaches, that we need to remember that our job is really to evoke awareness in them so that they can facilitate their own insight. And so that again it dovetails very nicely with being present with the client, right? That is, I just can't say it enough, that it all kind of comes together once you remember that that's really our job, to help them move forward. And thank you, Christina, for this opportunity to work with, to see these wonderful women who are doing such great things in the world. This is just so exciting.
Thank you.
It's really closing thoughts, Des?
Can I have 1 minute just to say something that was so special? When I was invited to talk for a day, it was a whole day with kids. I mean kids because they were young, very young, that have already been detoxed, and they have to sustain in the present life that resilience, ¿verdad? So we were talking about resilience, and when I started my conversation, I told them, you are the teachers of resilience. I know the concept, but you are going to teach me how could you get all the way here, totally detoxed and totally ready for a new life. And that's make such a big change in the way that we spend the day. They felt special, And when they start talking about their stories, it was such fascinating to see how can that there always is that resilience in the inner self of everybody, no matter what the story was. It was a very nice experience for me, just to make them feel that they were the teachers also that day, and to understand, and they had to with me identify what meant self-esteem in this moment of their life. So it was an interactive, and they felt that they have something to give forward. It was a very nice experience for me, believe me.
Sounds like it. Thanks, very good. Final thoughts, Des?
I call coaches accidental activists because by design, we are changing the world, one coaching session at a time. I think even just something simple like making a modification, being sensitive, making accommodations where needed, it's all part of, it's the subtlety of the social change that we're making. And by design, I think coaches are social change makers, period. And I'm proud to be one of them.
Now we're making it intentional in this community. That's amazing. So thank you, everybody, and let's keep the conversation going.